Now, health workers in the Gaza Strip say at least 38 Palestinians have been killed in a second day of airstrikes by the Israeli military. Tel Aviv says it has resumed ground operations in the enclave. International relations expert Patrick Kadima joins us for the latest on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Then, Patrick, appreciate your time. Good evening to you. Help us understand what's happening now. Things were quiet for some time, but it's all changed.
Good evening and good evening to your viewers. Yes, so now things have changed in the Middle East between Israel and its concerted efforts. Concerted efforts in the Middle East. So we have now been told that Israel has pulled off from the ceasefire agreement and they started its attacks, in the Gaza Strip. So. We have also heard that United Nations officials have been killed during these attacks, and that Israel is demanding that Hamas releases all hostages if they would want them to progress to the second phase of the ceasefire agreement.
Has there been any kind of response then from Palestine, from the area in Gaza as well, and those opposing Israel, of course, then, because to them, Israel has just said you need to release all these, all these hostages, and on the other end, well, everybody from Palestine could ultimately be saying, well, we want the same from you.
Yeah, I mean, Hamas says that that was not the agreement. That was signed, a few months back, and it says that Israel is now bringing in or citing a new deal backed by the US that it was not part of. We also have heard that in Israel there are protests from families of the hostage, citing that Israel is not. The government of Israel is not taking the issue of the release of hostages very seriously by going back to war or to conflict with Hamas.
So, any hopes of resurrecting that truce, that deal?
I don't think at this point, there are hopes for resurrecting that truce because, with Israel being backed up by, the United States of America and the Trump administration, to be precise, it's very difficult to foresee that there will be a truce anytime soon. We have seen also the Prime Minister of Israel stating that the all ceasefire will now be done under under gunfire or something along those lines. So it signals that he also has pressure domestically, where far-right coalition partners have said that they do not want to continue engaging in these talks and would want to continue in their business to make sure that Hamas is totally destroyed. So I think for him, if he continues with that ceasefire, then he might bring his political career to an end. And it's not something I think that he's looking to do, So I think with pressure brewing domestically from his far-right coalition partners, he has no choice but to continue this bombardment in Gaza.
Let's talk about Donald Trump's role in all of this then. Then so much for I'll solve this war within 24 hours, saying it and admitting that he was being perhaps a little bit sarcastic in that response. What is his role in all of this now, from here on, especially trying to communicate a deal?
Yeah, I mean, if he was really serious about, taking credit for that deal, he says that he brokered in January, although it started with the outgoing Democratic, administration under Joe Biden. Then he needs to take this serious and try to mediate. And when we call for mediation, we are not saying that he should choose a side. What he should do, he should be a mediator. He needs to be independent and needs to listen to both parties and try to strike a deal. But this is not the case. He has taken sides. And with his comments previously that he will stand by Israel, it means that America is not fit to be a mediator in this issue, So it will leave other role players such as Egypt, such as Qatar, to try, or even the European Union, to try to draw up a ceasefire deal between the two parties.
Final question very quickly. White House officials confirming that Donald Trump gave the green light for Israel's pre-dawn attack. The U.S. president gave Israel the go-ahead after Hamas failed to hand over hostages. That's according to an Israeli official who told the Wall Street Journal. If that is the case, then, Patrick, doesn't that make Trump as guilty a war criminal then as Putin is being judged to be? Wouldn't that make them almost similar?
That's a difficult one to answer, but what I would say, and what I would suggest is that, the American government, Israel is doing all this because it knows that it has the backing of the American government, the Trump administration, and hence it continues its bombardment in Gaza, trying to close out humanitarian aid and so on and so forth. So I just am of the view that, if Trump really wants peace and wants to really be this, mediator, he needs to be able to, stop backing up a certain party and try to sit both parties down and try to find a lasting solution. Otherwise, then, we are all going back to what we saw months back, where there were civilians killed, women and children, not having access to vital resources such as water, healthcare, and food. So the Trump administration needs to really maybe stay back and try to think about whether its role in this conflict is to back up Israel or whether it is to sit down with both parties and try to find a solution. I mean, if there was an agreement. There was the ceasefire had certain phases. They had passed the first phase. The second phase was agreed upon, and that all parties needed to uphold that, because it is common knowledge that when you agree to an agreement, both parties need to respect that and not breach any of the conditions. But here we see that Israel has backed off from that plan.
Yeah, and they really haven't. And look, we can all wish, but if wishes were horses, then we'll all be owning ponies, I suppose, at this stage. Patrick, appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Patrick Kadima, international relations expert then at Wits University, joining us there to unpack the situation out of Gaza as it currently stands.